Good morning, and it's for me an honor to be back here on Born to Ferment, the podcast. Sorry if I was away for 2, 3 weeks, but bars are reopen, restaurants are reopen. It's a very joyful moment. Everybody's loving it, and we working like crazy. And unfortunately, I didn't have so much time to sit down and interview my favorite people in the world, people that they care about what they do, and people that they more than anything that they care about fermentation as much as I do. Uh, we're starting back. We're going coming back with an honor and a super special guest, a person that I had the luck to collaborate, and we're still collaborating together here in Toronto. Carmen Eliana Maron Lopez, which is the owner of Aqua Santa Mezcal. Carmen, welcome to Born to Ferment, the podcast. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Massimo. I'm doing great, amazing, enjoying the superhuman day in Toronto.
Very,
But
very,
yeah,
very South American weather, I say, right? It kind of brings you back to the humidity kind of fills a bit, I guess, right?
kind of minus the humidity. It's just that we have the hot days, but without the humid side of it.
I just want to say, by the way, that you look super beautiful and
Thank you.
very, very Mexican.
Thank you so much.
So,
Excited that you invited me to be part of this
100%.
podcast. Thank you so much.
For me, it's always nice to interview and actually speak. This is not like really an interview, to talk to people that kind of caught my eyes during my journey here in Toronto or in general.
Thank you.
And you're one of those for sure.
Thank you.
Let's start immediately. Aqua Santa Mezcal. It's I have That's probably the only mezcal I'm selling at the bar, apart a couple of others. And how this happened? Why Aqua Santa? Of course, if you are Mediterranean or you come from Latin languages, you know that Aqua Santa. It's kind of the holy water, which has already got a huge significance in any Latin countries, especially if you talk about Christianity and all those kind of things, because we are immersed in holy water when we're very young, and it's called baptisms. Uh, does anything? Where the name comes from? How and who?
So I was traveling just right after I decided that I want to do this for a living. I decided to visit Oaxaca, the the state of birth for mezcal. And so rented a car looking for just to learn about mezcal, the production, the culture. But then I kept driving and driving and I got lost. When I started doing my sourcing, uh, there was a political instability going on in Mexico. So all of the highways were closed. There was people armed in the city. Nothing really happened, but it's just, like the way of doing protest. So I eventually got lost for 3 hours and ended up being in a highway where on my right there was a lake, and the lake's name was Agua Santa.
Very
So I was
nice.
like, okay, I'm by myself. It's pretty late at night. I don't really know how to go back to the city because every single intersection is closed. But if I make it, and if I make it on time without any scare, I have to name my product Agua Santa. So just the
That's
holy
amazing.
water. So that's how Agua Santa was born.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story. Amazing. So it's basically a reflection of a lake.
It is. It is. And
And
the funny thing is that I have tried every time I go back. I try to source it and I try to find it, but I can't.
so my question is, why mezcal? Why not tequila? Why not another local spirit? Do you live in Canada, right? Or you constantly traveling between Mexico and Canada,
I
I
live
guess?
in Canada. That's where home is.
Yes.
Before the COVID, I was going back and forth every 3 months to Mexico.
Beauty.
But why mezcal is because when I was working in a corporate, 8-hour day job,
Yep.
and I was really tired of it. I'm coming from a very entrepreneurial mom. My
Very
mom
good.
my mom has always injected me this passion to be an entrepreneur. So I
Exactly.
was like, okay, I think this is the time. I'm still young. parenthesis, not because you're old you shouldn't be start to think about being an entrepreneur. There is no age. Closing my parenthesis. So I decided that it was time for me, but I didn't want to start with a product that everyone knew in Canada, because we have tortillas, we have peppers, we have beans, we have pretty much all the basics for Mexican products in Canada. So I wanted to have something unique and special. So every time I was going back home, people were talking about mezcal and let's go to mezcalerias, and it was like this trend and it was fashion. But I had so little information and no idea what
Of
was
course.
mezcal about. So I decided to question myself, is this gonna be the jackpot product kind of thing to bring to mezcal? And the more I was visiting Oaxaca, the more I was learning about it, I was like, this is it. But little I knew about the complications of bringing alcohol into Canada, because Canada,
A little
many
nightmare. A little
it's
nightmare for
it's a
everybody.
little nightmare because
I
of
respect you
the
so much just for that. I
thank
promise you. We actually, so funny because mother, one thing that we wanted to do, actually, I still want to do because you talking about entrepreneurship and I like the game. It doesn't matter what the game is. Sometimes it's
yeah,
like, okay, if I can make it work, I will make it work because
absolutely,
it makes me exciting. And even though winning or losing, it doesn't really matter, right?
yeah,
And we wanted to import. I still want to import some Italian product here,
you
which
should.
is wine. But it's crazy. Like as soon as whenever you have already your business set, making cocktails and serving drinks and making people experiences, and you will think that you will put in your head another stress because of government kind of law and legislation
Yeah,
and taxes. You just go, you know what? I'm going to stick with this until I'm fully ready mentally for this
right,
other game.
right.
So that's why I'm
Yeah,
saying I respect you a lot because that was
thank you. I
that's a
guess
lot
the
of
main recipe to work with alcohol in Canada it's patience and due diligence, to be honest, because it took me about 4 years of just paperwork, bureaucratic
Sorry, I
no's.
want to just interrupt you 1 second. I
Yep.
did this for you, by the way. See,
Oh,
I'm drinking water from one who does this. Just saying. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. I just didn't
I
know the
love
boy.
it. I love it.
I had to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, so due diligence and patience is key to be in alcohol in Canada, for sure. So
Did
that's
you
where it started.
start? Can you just tell us a little story? How did you actually start the first 2 weeks of this business?
So
How you were importing mezcal? How did you get it? When you were starting talking to people about your brand? Um,
how? So when it first came into Ontario, I did it through private ordering. It's a special program that allows small people like me to bring new products into the province. And so I brought the product and I was pretty much going bar to bar, knocking doors, introducing myself. Um, and it makes me laugh now, but how I used to dress for work, it was, like high heels and a corporate suit. So I was dressed like that visiting the bars,
of
because
course.
I took it so professional.
Yeah.
And I was knocking the doors with my high heels. I remember it was summer, it was 38 degrees, like crazy humid day, but I didn't care. And by the time, I didn't really know, because I also moved from Montreal to Toronto. I didn't really know how to take the TTC, so I was just walking with my high heels, my backpack, and that full of mezcal.
And this pretty Mexican woman, what she's got inside the bag? 6 bottle of mezcal. That's
Yeah, so people were like looking me funny because they did know nothing about me. But I was really lucky because people, they did really listen to me, open their doors. Of course, there were many doors that they were not even open, that they were shut in my
as
face.
always.
But that's okay, because this is part of being an entrepreneur, that you will have, for every 1,000 no's, you will have 2 years, but those 2 years, they make the difference.
Absolutely. And I
And
was one of those
yeah,
ones. That
so
I was
yeah,
amused.
Yeah.
by the way and the energy that you put behind your stuff. And if you were to come to me and sell me socks, I would probably still buy them. Because you sell mezcal, I will buy them for sure. But if, like the way that you propose yourself, and this kind of really warm passion to show me that I'm the brand, and this is what I do, and for me, this product is really good.
Thank you.
And
I don't know. Like I think I'm lucky. People saw the passion that I have for mezcal, and it's not only for mezcal. What I want to portray is that in Mexico we have so much talent and so many amazing products, and it's a shame that through the years. I'm just gonna give example of tequila. Tequila was so it was put down because people were used to shot it, and so I didn't want that because I'm proud of the work behind mezcal and more so about the culture. So, that's why every time I have an event like this, I will always try to portray something from my country
beautiful,
because I'm proud of it,
of
and
course.
so I think that pride. Opened me so many doors because it's.
And we can actually speak about this. I had the luck to been to Mexico twice. So I actually went to Jalisco. I never did mezcal tours, but I've done 2 tequila tours.
Nice.
I'm not want to say what brands, but it was just a paradise. When you go there and
okay.
it treats you like king and queens. And I remember one person in particular saying a beautiful phrase that actually mezcal helped the tequila category to raise up the quality, because obviously every tequila is mezcal. No, not every mezcal is tequila, because of the region is what it made, and the blue agave and all this got a little differences between the 2 category within the category, or within the same plant for sure. But at the same time, tequila, yes, was getting shot by everybody as a kind of a short celebration, which is, to be honest, it kind of fit perfectly with Western cultures in that moment. You also Mexican, they shoot tequila, right? This is a kind of a celebration moment, right?
Yeah.
But with mezcal, that didn't happen.
No.
With mezcal, we went through the flavor of it. We went through the process of it. We went through the pechuga de gallo. We went through the celebration of the liquid and not the actual moment of shooting because it's something short. Look like that the complexity of flavor profile kind of match with whatever we're doing with the liquid itself. Once you have a product that is so complex with flavor, you don't want to shoot in a second, right? You want to shoot a smoke whiskey that's been aged for 12 years, because that's not what people should do. They should appreciate the work behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so much work behind, and you have to appreciate every single process of the chain in once that you're sipping mezcal. And I think that really also helped tequila, because now when you think about tequila, it's not when I was 18 that going to a nightclub and shoot it. Now people are thinking, and I'm so glad that they are doing that. Every time that they're drinking a sip of tequila, they're also trying to identify the complexity of the blue agave. So in a sense, yes, absolutely, I agree with your friend that mezcal did a favor to tequila, just to reappreciate the work behind and everything, that the complexity of each product.
Which is amazing. Talking about the process, how Aquasanta is made. It's not just holy water, right? Because holy water doesn't get you drunk. As much we love the water from the river, we love Aquasanta, and I'm from Rome, so obviously I grew up in a very Catholic culture.
Yes.
And Aquasanta, it's holy water, is beautiful to wash and prep, but it's not actually very good mezcal. How Aquasanta mezcal becomes Aquasanta mezcal? And please, any information here on the fermentation process, obviously it's super welcome, because that's what people don't want to listen to, apart our stories, which is, I believe, it's the center of fermentation anyways, because fermentation is full of stories.
So everything is made artisanal. I'm not gonna go into the technical information, but there are 3 in general, that it's ancestral, artisanal, and mezcal, or industrial. So we are artisanal. We don't regard ourselves as ancestral, because ancestral is more that um, going back to the very roots, even when you are doing the the crushing of the agave, people do it by hand with a bat.
Beautiful.
In the artisanal way, we do it with a horse and the tajona, that is the biggest
The
stone,
tajon,
right?
seen that.
Once that is done, we're gonna ferment our grinded agave.
Perfect.
First, I'm sorry, I missed the biggest step. Of course, the harvesting and the cooking.
Which takes 8 to 12 years, right? It's a very long process.
It takes from 7 to 10 years, depending on the brand. We take pride that we don't cut the agave before maturity, because otherwise you don't get all the sugars needed for a really good quality of mezcal. And this became a problem in tequila because there was so much mass production and so much demand that all the jimadores started to cut before maturity. And that's a problem because you don't have enough resources to keep up with the demand.
And obviously, we're talking about here the 100% agave, but the mixto, it's a totally different story because people can put anything inside, right?
Exactly.
So we had a lot of, I remember when the 100% agave craze came in, which was like around 10 years ago, I believe, at least in UK, maybe here a bit later. But there was, I could see consumers that they were asking for 100% agave because the mixto, which were a couple of brands over there that they were doing, club shots and all this kind of thing, actually they start to go down very badly because people start to understand what was going into those mixto things, right?
And I think these people were lucky because if you talk to people outside from the industry we work in, they don't know what mixto is. So they will just go to the store to buy a tequila. And sometimes they don't really appreciate why is it the price difference between 100% agave versus a mixto. So they just ended up buying something that they think is tequila, but it's just that some people I have met that they don't know. So I have to explain them why. Fortunately, we don't have that in mezcal. It's against the regulation. It has to be 100% agave.
Perfect.
We cooked our plants in a hold. It's an oven, artisanal oven that is filled with volcanic stones.
Beautiful.
It's a local volcanic stones from Oaxaca, from Del Valle. And we are going to cover this with firewood, and once that we shave the agaves, we will dump it into our hole, cover it with soil very well so the oxygen doesn't come inside the oven and doesn't burn all the cooking process. We're going to do it for 4 days, depending the weather, the climate conditions. The hotter it is, the faster it's going to be the cooking process, or the more humid, we might need more days.
That's amazing. So again, there's not like a stable way to do it. And that's what I really loved about mezcal as well, that and in fermentation, for instance, is really like that, because when you ferment live cultures, you think you can have the same product all the time, but you really don't.
No.
And everybody that think that, I'm going to make a very stable product based on fermentation, they will eventually kind of face this variance of, having a different product or having a slightly same product, but, it comes in few days and different days. We experience like some other, for instance, we're making a lot of different kojis, which is amazing. It's a beautiful journey that we're in training, and it's just phenomenal. And it's so funny because sometimes, the actually bacteria grows after 40 hours, sometimes after 35, there's not really a given time, a given structure.
So like you just explained it perfectly. After we just cook and grind the process, we're gonna do the fermentation. For us, because it's atmospheric fermentation.
Beautiful.
What does atmospheric mean is that we don't add anything, any additive, any preservative. It's 100%
spontaneous.
So, fun fact about the fermentation process from this region is that it's done in a type of wood called sabino. That I try to translate it in English. It says sabine, but I don't think that's a word, so I will keep it as a sabino. What sabino does is that it attracts the own yeast of the agave and reproduces it, so we will not be needing to add any. Which is
phenomenal.
Sorry,
It's okay. I have a cat. So if you listen to the answer, and I have a daughter upstairs, but she's studying, so it's okay. So what I'm thinking, because it's so funny, because for instance, in Japanese koji making, they use some cedar basket. I don't know if you ever seen it, but basically that cedar basket, after a while that's been used, it's got in fungus. It's got some koji in the wood that will A, give flavor to it, and B, it will create this kind of, it will help the fermentation and the bacteria to grow in this perfect status. So I do think that Sabino's does a very similar analogy to that.
It's amazing. Mother Nature, what can do, huh?
Oh, for sure. I have a question. What's the must? So whatever you put, the sour mash of agave, is that just agave roasted? It is
just agave roasted with water and
Perfect.
The magic of the Sabino. And we will be waiting from 5 to 7 days. And going back to the original point you were talking about, it's nothing that it's by the book that is going to take 7 days and then it's already fermented. No, it's, as I said, atmospheric, and then we have to wait until we see the first bubbles, and then there is this kind of like cane where we're gonna try it, and
and the alcoholic percentage of that, it's around 7.5, 12 degrees Celsius.
Yes, 7%.
Sorry, Celsius. 7%. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So it's like the first degrees of alcohol that we will be getting there.
You don't call it, how do you call that? That must. You call it pulque, you don't call it pulque, right?
We call it tepache.
Tepache. Perfect.
Tepache.
Perfect.
Yes.
So for instance, we make a lot of tepache, but we actually make it with pineapple skins.
Yeah.
Because it contains so much sugar that, kind of naturally yeast with a healthy sugar and spice.
That's the most common. The tepache from pineapple is for sure the most common.
Perfect. We do a very good twist of it, because I'm actually using chai masala, toasted spices into it. Yeah, it's pretty nice. And we put on a drink as well called the Queen of Ales.
I was just gonna ask if you do it in a cocktail.
We do everything in a cocktail. Sometimes I put myself in the cocktail. So everything must go in a cocktail, in a mother cocktail bar. It's kind of one of the rules. When people come and say, "Oh, why you don't have so many bottles behind the bar?" I was like, it's a cocktail bar. If not, we'd open a whiskey bar or a mezcal bar. Yeah. And actually, we're just going to end up very quickly with the process after the distillation. And after I got some questions that I want to ask you about how Canadian culture can be related to mezcal culture. But let's finish with the distillation after we jump there, okay?
Okay.
I'm just very curious. It's just my very big curiosity, because I'll tell you later. Let's talk about the distillation.
That's okay. So we have our fermentation from 5 to 7, and once that we know it's ready, we are going to start doing the distillation. There are many kinds of pots to do the distill. We prefer to use copper. I love to do the distillation in clay pots.
Yep.
The problem with that is that if I will be doing the testing for the LCBO that is in Ontario, sometimes clay doesn't kill all the metals.
Of course. But it's phenomenally good.
It's a different.
Man, this reminds me the cheese industry within France and US. In France they have bacteria, and some bacteria could be good, could be bad, but the cheese is delicious.
It's delicious.
It's delicious.
And you guys are still alive, so that proves a point that it's not. But
and you go here in North America, and unfortunately everything is to be pasteurized. If it's not pasteurized, because diseases first, and if and to be honest, there's a certain a reason that those things happen, but the flavor, it loses so much.
It does. To be honest, when I first started, I really wanted to do clay distillation, but unfortunately I didn't want to risk to be bringing batches of mezcal and then the laboratory from Ontario saying no, it didn't pass, because then it will be like such a loss.
Of course.
So that's why we stick into copper. In the future, probably, if the regulations change, I would love to still try the copper so people can try it.
Of course.
Here in Canada. 2 distillations, and
Is that how many times is it rectified? So you distill it once, twice, you do
so 2
twice. Perfect.
distillations, yeah.
Perfect.
And yeah, it's, as I said, mentioned before, it's really I hate to use this word rudimentary. It's not the word that I'm looking for, but it's very
I would say
labor-intense.
traditional.
It's very traditional. It's very labor intense, where you have the distilled pot made of copper. Underneath you have fire with actual firewood, and it's connected to a big bucket of water. That it's
Perfect.
in a containing between bricks. So just by heat and condensation, it gets the cold water, and it just receives the mezcal by the drop.
So I'm going to ask you the question that every consumer will ask you. Question: the smokiness, where it comes from? How?
From the cooking process, the very first, actually the second step, because it gets cooked different from tequila. I mean, well, tequila is also cooked, but it gets cooked in autoclaves machines, right?
Yep.
So it's, instead of doing it for 4 days, mezcal, tequila will do it for 4 hours.
Of course.
So same mezcal will do it from 4 to 5, 6 days, depending on the weather. It gets smoky from the firewood, because it gets, remember the volcanic oven that I talked to you, we also add portion of pine wood, portion of encino.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You answered the $1 million question. Yeah. It's everybody's always asking the same question about mezcal. What the smoky?
Sorry for interrupting. I also forgot to mention one really important thing about the fermentation. The difference from one brand taste to another depends where it gets fermented. If we are doing the fermentation in an area that is really botanical, with a lot of fruity plantations, our product will be like this orangey, it will be softer on the palate, versus a product that is being fermented in a very desertic area. It will be more herbal, it will be more a kind of medicinal. So it really depends where you do the fermentation. It's gonna acquire all the tasting notes from the environment.
Amazing. Question: your mezcal is an espadín.
It's right? Espadín. We also have Madre Cuiche. Madre Cuiche is it's considered a wild agave. It's from the Karwinski family. Fun fact for the Madre Cuiche is that when they started doing, like the industry started growing, some people, regions that they didn't used to produce this kind of mezcal, they were using the plant as a fences in the highway, but not anymore. So now they are using it because they found like, how special it is.
Wait a second, I could make mezcal with this. Okay, let's remove the pan. I'll put a dahlia. I'll put a dahlia there in the summertime, and I'm sure that will work.
Yeah, it's really funny, and now we are bringing. It's actually on its way. It's supposed to be a surprise, but I'm gonna tell you.
You can tell me.
We're bringing pechuga.
Very nice.
Pechuga. Why I was debating to bring pechuga or not. One reason is that the locals, they really take pride of pechuga. Absolutely. Pechuga is something that it's distilled with the breast of a turkey. It's not the turkey that you are thinking of, the American turkey we eat for Thanksgiving. It's guajolote, so it's the Mexican turkey, which is even more unique.
And you tell me if it's true. I heard that the stories goes that normally distillers, or obviously mezcaleros, were putting inside pechuga for celebration of the wedding of the daughter, of celebration of the village. There always been a kind of a celebration related of the flavor of whatever they were putting inside this, local, super local mezcal.
Yeah, so it is true. So that was the reason why I was debating versus to bring pechuga or not, because they take pride is for celebrations. If you have a funeral, you will have a pechuga. If they have a wedding, first communion, depending on the celebration, they will be doing this special batch because it's an extra step. It will be kind of like a third distillation with pechuga, but it's not only pechuga. It's a mix, and each producer has its own recipe. Like a baker. Each baker has
Absolutely.
an apple strudel in a different way. So similar with pechuga, our producer, and even today, I can't tell you the recipe because it's like kind of like this secret from the
And it's
producer.
the beauty of it. You can't say everything.
No, I can tell you some of the
Some
ingredients
things needs to be
to
secret
be
because at
kept.
least people will
Yes.
still question about it.
So, but I can tell you, a couple of the ingredients. It's like plantain, cinnamon, the pechuga. It has some cardamom, orange. So like the complexity of the ingredients.
Of
You will
course.
think it's like, oh, only is the breast of the turkey, but when
No,
you add
it
plantain and
won't taste.
orange, and
It won't taste as good if you just put a breast of a chicken or a breast of a
who
turkey in
knows?
there.
Maybe people, some producers, they only use the breast. Who knows? So that's one of the reasons. But then I was like, okay, I'm gonna, more people in the industry were asking me to have access to pechuga. So we're gonna try this year and see how it goes.
I never ask you, but I'm just gonna take some bottles. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Also, as I said, I was lucky enough to be in a mezcal world. Back in UK, I opened a place called Crazy Pedro's, which is the only mezcaleria outside of mezcal in UK.
Wow.
135 or 165, and obviously whoever's listening this can correct me. Different mezcals. Because
Wow.
obviously in UK the importation is totally different. You can import as much as you want.
Yeah.
So we had all of them,
Oh
and
my
it was like gold. There was, for me, it was like
Wow.
also the first time that got really introduced to the category, and the first time that, again, you fell in love for the stories and the actual traditions that those people have regard a very new spirit. And from here we're starting, and this is the last question. After, I want to know what's the future of Alcoma Santa Mezcal.
Okay.
And I'm gonna leave you because I'm sure you're super busy as much as I am. So the culture of mezcal in North America, and specifically in Canada, how this is related with Mexican culture, and how different those people, or those young people or bartenders, they actually use it for A, just drinking, or B, actually making cocktails.
You have the two of them, and it's really different. It depends on an age group and also by where you are located. When I started here in Ontario, the old bars and restaurants, supporting mezcal, they were looking for this alcohol that would be great on cocktails. But what were they looking for was something that it was cheap, and that was a problem for me because just by definition, mezcal is handcrafted, so you cannot bring a $30 product because it's not even the production cost.
Of course.
But once that they understand, and that's one of the reasons that I take pride of what I do, is that I'll give training sessions to the bartenders, and explaining them what it comes from and how it's been made, so they understand and they sell it even more with pride, and they explain to their consumers. Consumers that they have traveled to Mexico, they always come back to Canada looking for mezcal, and they can either drink it in a cocktail or on its own. If it's made in a cocktail, what I seen everything, like from Caesars to ingredients that are with poblano pepper. What I find is like the more ingredients, it's the flavor of the mezcal. It's really hard to
Kind of
differentiate.
fades, right?
It fades, but it doesn't mean you cannot do it. I mean, it depends on the palate. Now, this is by the group of people that it's younger, millennial, or a little bit older. But when I have talked to people that are over 60 years old, that they are very ingrained into their whiskey or into their vodka, it's really difficult for me trying to convince them that it's not tequila. I
Of
have
course.
gone to trade shows in Alberta or even in Nova Scotia, where I've been, exposing and telling them about the culture of mezcal, and they go like, "Oh, no, that gives me headaches." And I said, how do you know if you never try it? It's a different category. It's not. We are not tequila. And they say, oh no, no, tequila, no, no, no. So they don't really give me a chance.
Absolutely.
I was in a trade show in Edmonton in 2018, and I have this lady who wanted to have a Caesar with mezcal. So I said, okay, let me try to prepare something. By the way, I'm not a bartender. I know very little, but the little that I can make is just, like the three different
What do you mean you're
cocktails.
not a bartender? You should be a fantastic bartender, darling.
No,
I do courses weekly. You can come and train.
I mean, sign me in. I didn't know that. Anyway, so I did my Caesar with all pure organic ingredients, and I was so proud of it. She pretty much kind of spit the drink at me. And she said, this is
I do that.
disgusting. I didn't know it was smoky. And I said, well, but I explained it to you that it's being cooked. And she was like, no, this is even worse than tequila. So, it's not for everyone.
Absolutely. But also, I do believe there's a huge breakage of generations in the new category, right? Whenever something is new, it's always been rejected by the old and appreciated by the young. After the young will carry on, and probably their daughters or their son, they're actually gonna love it because my daughter, for instance, now I don't know because she's 10, but I'm sure she will kind of enjoy cocktails, because her father's been making drinks since he remembers it, and I remember that my mom never drank cocktails. So for me, it was like more, a discovery of my own, but it wasn't, a given thing. So I believe this generational transition with mezcal,
it's gonna help for sure, and to the new generations. But also, you know what? I have this other story. In Nova Scotia, I have this lady that says, I don't like tequila, but I love whiskey. And I said, well, I'm the right product. Let me try, please. Like, give me a chance. This is the closest to a whiskey, and not so much because it's the same. It comes from a different source,
Totally.
But you have the smoky and the pittiness.
Of course.
And so I explained that to her, and she said, okay, let's do it. And she loved it. And even today, every time I go to Nova Scotia, and if I happen to see her at the store, she said, oh, I keep buying your product. Thank you so much. So, you have the two different people,
Absolutely.
above 60, the one that really hates the smoking and the other one that really enjoys the pittiness. So, yeah.
Looking at the future, what's Agua San Mezcal apart now that you just told us to bring the pechuga de pollo? Not
the pollo. Pollo is chicken. It's
sorry.
It's
turkey. Sorry. My super bad. How do you say turkey in turkey? In
guajolote.
Guajolote. Okay, beautiful. So pechuga de guajolote.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm saying is, what's the future of the brand? Are you guys doing, for instance, cocktail competitions? Are you organizing anything for the industry, oven trade, out trade? What's the deal?
So we want to keep expanding to different provinces. Today we are only in 4 provinces. We have Ontario, Alberta, Nova Scotia, and BC. We want to reach to, as much as we can in Canada, if it makes sense. We are always looking for brand ambassadors, that are enthusiasm and they can wear the shirt and, that can represent, what I want to bring to the public. Not so much a brand ambassador that gets drunk and, because it's a brand that I'll take pride of it. And
it's your brand. I have it's so funny because one of my next guests will be a mister called Giancarlo Mancino from Mancino Vermouth, and I remember that and we will talk about that when we're going to speak, of course. And he told me, it's like, I don't want anybody to go around and talk about my brand because it's got my name on it.
Yeah,
that obviously was years ago. Now it's got amazing people talking about his brand because it's an amazing brand and this guy's everywhere in the world. But when he started, he said, I can't.
Yeah.
Like I could give a file to a person and the person goes around and speak about my brand, but it's got my surname. Yeah. So it's my identity. And you obviously, that's not your surname, but I can see the reflection
it's my
of your person. Of course.
It's my baby. And it's like you want your baby to fully grow and to be respected. So we are looking to be outside Canada as well. We see the potential in markets like UK and Australia. So that's what we were working last year, and still waiting to see what's going to happen with that. But hopefully the market takes us. It's not easy. It's not easy, but you know, little
Nothing
by
is
little,
easy, but the good ones,
hard
they're
work.
always going to do something.
Yeah,
I totally believe in that philosophy of, sometimes you think it's impossible, but when you work hard, sometimes it seems it's
it
more
happens.
possible. And
Absolutely.
when it seems more possible, maybe it's achievable. And when it's achievable, you just, you probably understand how that works. And you're just going to do everything you do
Yeah.
with that mindset.
No,
And
and that's how it happened in Canada. I questioned myself for so many years. When I was waiting for all my paperwork these 4 years, I was like, am I just like wasting my time? Is this gonna happen? And there is always gonna be this time that you doubt yourself, unfortunately, because you're always trying to see if it's gonna work or not. But this is part of being an entrepreneur.
absolutely.
And yeah, so hard work and just to keep digging and
Carmen, you got
let the
all my
nature.
support from day
Thank you,
one
Massimo.
until the end. Our most famous cocktail is called the Honey Plus. It's got Aqua Santa Mezcal in
I
it, and
have to try it.
it's a combination between bee pollen, mezcal, tequila, fresh lemon juice, salted honey, lavender. It's a pretty successful concoction because I never heard nobody say I don't like it. And
I'm
not
sure it's
because we
delicious.
can mix drinks, but also because of your mezcal. Also, I do believe that what a lot of people should take home after this little chat that we had is that, whenever you want to do something in life, just do it, and it
Just
will
do it.
it will work better than not do it.
Yeah.
that's
Because
that's for
otherwise you
sure.
will be questioning yourself, what if? No, no,
Absolutely.
no, what if? Just do it.
Never waste a second. That's what my grandfather used to
Absolutely.
tell me all the time, and I'm trying
Oh,
to live with the example.
smart father of yours. Massey, thank you so much for
Carmen,
inviting
it's
me.
been a pleasure for me. I wish you the best day. I wish you the best for the future, and I'm
Thank
sure you will
you.
smash it as you
Thank you.
started to smashing it with your product. We love your product, and
Thank you.
you look
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
Nos
Have a good day.
vemos.
Nos vemos.
Bye bye.
Bye.